أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلألأ كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسن قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أمه، فقلت وعليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال يا أمه إني أشم عندك راية طيبة كأنها راية جد رسول الله. فقلت نعم إن جدك تحت الكساء. فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء؟ فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوزي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معه تحت الكساء. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولد الحسين قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أمه. فقلت وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال لي يا أمه إني أشم عندك راية طيبة كأنها راية جد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. فقلت نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء. فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه، السلام عليك يا من اختاره الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء؟ فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافي أمتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معهما تحت الكساء. فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. فقلت وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين. فقال يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك راية طيبة كان راية أخي وابن أمي رسول الله. فقلت نعم ها هو ما ولديك تحت الكساء. فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال له عليك السلام يا أخي ويا وسيي وخليفتي وصاحب لوائي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل علي تحت الكساء. ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا أبتاه يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بزعتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخلت تحت الكساء. فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بتر في الكساء وهو مع بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال الله إن هؤلاء أهل البيت وخاصتي وحامتي، لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي، يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أن هرب لمن هاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن عاداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم. إنهم مني وأنا منهم، واجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم، وأذهب عنهم الرجس وتحهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان السماوات إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدهية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئا ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الأمين جبرائيل يا ربي ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة، هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فقال جبرائيل يا ربي أتأذن لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض لأكون معهم سادسا؟ فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك. فهبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله. العلي الأعلى يقرئك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدهية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئا ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم، وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم فهل تأذن لي يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله إنه نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء فقال لأبي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فقال علي لأبي يا رسول الله أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وهفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي إذا والله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال النبي ثانيا يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيهم مهموم إلا وفرج الله عما ولا مهموم إلا وكشف الله غما ولا طالب حاجة إلا وكذا الله حاجته. فقال علي إذا والله فوزنا وسعدنا وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. سورة المباركة الفاتحة.
आज हम अपने 10वें इमाम मोहम्मद तकी अलैहिस्सलाम की शहादत इस सिलसिले में यहाँ मस्जिद-ए-अली में इकट्ठे हुए हैं। जो 29 ज़िकात को जिनकी शहादत हुई और 220 हिजरी में उनकी शहादत दूसरी اس سے پہلے کہ میں مرثیہ پڑھنے کے لیے سلمان جعفری کو بلاؤں، میری آپ حضرات سے دستہ درخواست ہے کہ برائے کرم آگے آگے تشریف لیں. آپ ایک خوبصورت گلدستے کے لیے بیٹھیں گے، مجلس کا ماحول اچھا ہو جائے گا. جو حضرات آ سکتے ہیں ان سے میری درخواست. سلمان جعفری پلیز پڑھیے. اور محمد و آل محمد صلوات.
بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات. ایک بار اور صلوات پڑھیے گا. ایک بار اور صلوات پڑھیے گا. حضرت عباس کی شان میں 4 مصرع پیش کرنا چاہتا ہوں. جمال عشق و محبت جمال عشق و محبت کائنات بس کمال عزم و عمل پیکر وفا اور کمال عزم و عمل پیکر وفا لب فرات وہ جو ہے دکھا دیے تو نے لب فرات جو ہے دکھا دیے تو نے علی کی روح پکاری کے مرحبا ابا لب فرات جوہر دکھا دیے تو نے علی کی روح پکاری کے مرحبا ابا جمال عشق و محبت بر محمد و آل محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم. سلام کے چند شعر پیش خدمت ہیں. ایک بار اور سلام پڑھیں.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
صفے ازا جو گھروں میں بچھا کے رکھتے ہیں صفے ازا جو گھروں میں بچھا کے اور دریچے قبر میں تازہ ہوا کے رکھتے ہیں دریچے قبر میں تازہ ہوا کے رکھتے ہیں صفے ازا جو گھروں میں بچھا کے رکھتے ہیں اور غم حسین کی دولت کو کیجیے غم حسین کی دولت کو کیجیے یہ مال وہ نہیں جس کو چھپا کے رکھتے ہیں صفے ازا جو گھروں میں بچھا کے رکھتے ہیں ہمیں یہ جان سے پیارا ہے اس لیے ہم لوگ ہمیں یہ جان سے پیارا ہے اس لیے ہم لوگ ہمیں حسین کو دل سے لگا کے رکھتے ہیں ہمیں حسین کو دل سے لگا کے رکھتے ہیں صفے ازا جو گھروں میں بچھا کے رکھتے ہیں اور ڈرا نہ سختی محشر سے ہم کو واعظ ہم ڈرا نہ سختی محشر سے ہم کو واعظ حوالے جیب میں مشکل کشا کے رکھتے ہیں حوالے جیب میں مشکل کشا کے رکھتے ہیں وہ بعزم الفت عباس آئیے کہہ کر بعزم الفت عباس آئیے کہہ کر علم اٹھاتے ہیں پاؤں جما کے رکھتے ہیں صفے ازا جو گھروں میں بچھا کے رکھتے ہیں دریچے قبر میں تازہ ہوا کے رکھتے ہیں صفے ازا جو گھروں میں پر محمد والے محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم سورہ فاتحہ ایک بار حضور کے صلوات پڑھیں.
اللهم صل على محمد
آل نبی پہ تازہ مصیبت کا دل ہے آل نبی پہ تازہ مصیبت کا دل ہے اور گریا ہے آسمان بھی قیامت کا دل ہے اور اہل عذاب پہ نالا اور رکعت کا دل ہے آفاق میں تقی کی شہادت کا دل ہے آفاق میں تقی کی شہادت کا دل ہے اور آل نبی کے شیعوں پہ رکعت کا جوش ہے اندھیر ہے کہ شمع امامت خاموش ہے اندھیر ہے کہ شمع امامت خاموش ہے اور دشمن جو معتصم تھا محمد کی آل کا اے نوے امام پہ ظالم نے کی جفا کھانے میں اس نے زہر دیا با مصیبت آتے ہی اس کے شے کا جگر چاقو ہو گیا آتے ہی اس کے شے کا جگر چاقو ہو گیا اور فرتے علم سے آل نبی اشک بار تھے بستر پہ جانشین نبی مصطفیٰ تھے بستر پہ جانشین نبی بے قرار تھے اور فرزند کو لگا کے گلے شہ نے یہ کہا اب میرے بعد تم ہو دو عالم کے مقتدا اور لازم ہے صبر و وقت بلا میرے میں لقا ہوتا ہے کچھ ہمارا زمانے سے دلربا ہوتا ہے کچھ ہمارا زمانے سے دلربا اور جاتا ہوں اس جہان سے منزل میں قبر کی کرنا ہے تو محل بیت کو تلقین صبر کی کرنا تو محل بیت کو تلقین صبر کی اور تڑپا یہ ذکر سن کے محمد تقی کلا ہاتھوں سے دل کو تھام کے دیکھا پدر چہرہ تھا زرد دل پہ ہجوم غم و ملا بولے کہ جو رضا تیری اب رب ذوالجلال بولے کہ جو رضا تیری اب رب ذوالجلال اور فرزند دور ہوتا ہے اپنے پدر سے اٹھتا ہے سایہ باپ کا اب میرے سر سے اٹھتا ہے سایہ باپ کا اب میرے سر سے اور تلقین صبر کی شہ عالی مقام نے بے چینیاں بڑھائی قضا کے پیام نے اگلا لہو منہ سے شہ نیک نام نے پھیلائے پاؤں گاہ سمیٹے امام نے پھیلائے پاؤں گاہ سمیٹے امام نے اور آخر اثر سے زہر کے مولا گزر گئے بیت الشرف میں شور ہوا شاہ مر گئے بیت الشرف میں شور ہوا شاہ مر گئے اور سایہ اٹھا امام دو عالم کے سر سے اٹھتی ہے ہوک شیعوں کے درد جگر سے اور آواز گریا آتی ہے ہر بام و در سے دل خون
ہے ہر چشم تر سے، دل خون ہو کے بہتا ہے ہر چشم تر سے، اور طوفان رنج و غم سے دلوں کو لقب ہوا، ڈوبا جہاز امت آسی غضب ہوا، ڈوبا جہاز امت آسی غضب ہوا، اور آخر پسر نے باپ کو غسل و کفن دیا، نور نظر نے باپ کو غسل و کفن دیا، لخت جگر نے باپ کو غسل و کفن دیا، جانے پدر نے باپ کو غسل و کفن دیا، جانے پدر نے باپ کو غسل و کفن دیا، ایک دفتر صحیفہ رنج و محن کھلا، دیدار آخری کے لیے جب کفن کھلا، دیدار آخری کے لیے جب کفن کھلا، نبی پہ تازہ اور محمد مولا محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم۔
درخواست داروں قبلہ و کعبہ جناب مولانا رضوانی پر محمد و آل محمد صلی اللہ تھوڑا اور اگر آگے آ سکے تو بڑی نمازش ہوگی آپ لوگ۔
اللهم انت سورة الفاتحة. Request for Surah Al-Fatiha for the following Marmin Sayyid Rafiq Hussain, Shafiq al-Nisa, Narjis Rizvi, and all the Mu'mineen Mu'minat. Surah Al-Fatiha. Bismillah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي قصرت عن رؤيته أبصار الناظرين وعجزت عن نعته أوهام الواصفين. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين أبي القاسم محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يريدون أن يطفئوا نور الله بأفواههم ويأبى الله إلا أن يتم نوره ولو كره الكافرون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I would like to begin by
extending our condolences to Imam of our time on this sad occasion upon which we commemorate and observe the Shahadat of his Jad, our ninth Imam, Imam Muhammad Taqi al-Jawad alayhi salatu wasalam. And I will extend the condolences to the Maraji of our time and all of the mu'mineen and mu'minat. Indeed, the Shahadat of our ninth Imam, which takes place on this last day of the month of Dhul Qa'dah in the year 220 Ba'd al-Hijrah. Imam alayhi salatu wassalam was about 25 years old at the time of his Shahadat. And that itself is a great tragedy to even fathom and comprehend. That how can someone at the age of 25 to be martyred and poisoned the way Imam ﷺ was poisoned. And also worth noticing and mentioning that how many of us at the age of 25 have really accomplished anything? Well, we look at the life of our ninth Imam, a fruitful life, a life that was very short, but it was fruitful in a sense that he was able to fulfill the obligation that was on his shoulders to propagate the madhab. And that is probably one of the reasons why our eighth Imam, Imam Ali ibn Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, when he introduced his son to general public, people asked him, who will be the Imam after you? Imam would refer to and call on his son. And of course, people would raise questions that he's only 3 years old at that time when Imam first time introduced him to that. And when some of Imam's companions came and questioned Imam, Imam would be feeding his son. And one of the occasions, a person said that I saw that Imam was, peeling a banana and he was giving it to his son. And I said to Imam, this is your blessed son? And Imam responded by saying, هذا المولود الذي لم يولد مولود أعظم بركة على شيعتنا. This is the mawlud, this is the child. There's no one superior and more blessed than this mawlud for our Shias. Let me read that again. هذا المولود الذي لم يولد مولود أعظم بركة على شيعتنا منه. This mawlud, there's no other child who has more blessings than this child. Now some people might look at this riwayat and say, what about the other ma'sumin? When they were born, are they being, made exception from this rule? Why is it that eighth Imam is saying that my son is the greatest of the mawlud that there ever existed? Is he undermining the other ma'sumin when they were younger? For example, we have many stories about Hasanain alayhi salatu wasalam when they were younger children. And when they were born, the birth of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, the birth of Imam Hussein, al-Shahid al-Karbala, all of them, and then their miracles that are associated with it. Why is it the eighth Imam is saying, Hadha al-Mawlud, my son, Abu Ja'far, and whose name is Muhammad, whose title is Taqi, whose title is Jawad. Hadha al-Mawlud, lam yulad mawludun, there's not a child who's a'zamu barakah. And the response if you were to ask Imam, the reason is that he's not comparing him with other children that were born. Rather, Imam ﷺ was referring to the concept that the birth of my son came at a juncture in my life that there's nothing more blessed than him being present. Let me explain. Imam is 44 years old and he does not have a child. And we all know that Imam al-Rada only had one awlad, and that is our ninth Imam. The hadith of Rasul is standing correct that there are 12 Imams or Khulafa or, my disciples, whatever the word that we want to use. That is true as well. We are at Imam al-Rada and he doesn't have a son. His legacy will stop over here. He's 44 years old. Usually about the other Imams, you hear that when they're teenagers, they have children. Because they get married at an early age, they already have a lot of kids. Look at the life of our seventh Imam. Close to 34 children that are mentioned from the progeny of seventh Imam. Eighth Imam, he's 44 years old, and there's not a sign of any child in his life. So people start questioning. And the increasing pressure from the other groups such as Waqifiyya, those who stopped at the Imamat of seventh Imam after his Shahadat said that he went into occultation, and that's it, Imamat stopped over there. Some people went to the Imamat of Imam Raza's brother, Ahmad ibn Musa, Ali ibn Musa, that they were Imams and Imam Raza was not Imam. Because if he was Imam, he would have a son, he would have a child. So in that context, the wiladat of ninth Imam becomes what? That much critical. And when he was born and everyone came to see Imam Raza, Imam would respond by saying, هَذَا الْمَوْلُودُ الَّذِي لَمْ يُولَدْ مَوْلُودٌ عَظَمُ بَرَكَةٌ. This child cannot be compared with the barakat of any other child in the history, because in the context, the birth of this child has taken place. I began by reciting this ayat from Surah Tawbah, chapter 9, verse number 32, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in this beautiful ayat, He said, يُرِيدُونَ أَن يُطْفِئُوا نُورَ اللَّهِ بِأَفْوَاهِهِمْ وَيَعْبَى اللَّهُ إِلَّا أَن يُتِمَّ نُورَهُ وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْكَافِرُونَ. That yuriduna, the kuffar who are being used as the pronoun over here, because toward the end of the ayat it says, وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْكَافِرُونَ. So kuffar, yuriduna, what do they want? They want to extinguish the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. First, comprehend this. The nur of Allah, what is the nur of Allah? We need to understand the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nur of Allah is that which reminds us of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that which is manifested on this earth. So Rasulullah Akram, Hazrat Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said what? He said, Allah looked at the entire universe and He chose me. After me, He looked at Ali ibn Abi Talib and He chose him. After me, Ali is the nur of this world. And we were created from the very first nur. So who's the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Rasulullah Akram is the nur of Allah, and Ahlul Bayt are the anwar and the nur of Allah. So what do the kuffar want to do? يُرِيدُونَ أَن يُطْفِئُوا نُورَ اللَّهِ. They want to extinguish the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Put it out. Extinguishing is usually with the fire. You have a lamp, you have a candle which is lit. You try to put it out. Sometimes it is dangerous, so you have to put it out. Sometimes there are other reasons that you put out the fire. But nonetheless, you understand the concept of extinguishing the fire. Here, the nur of Allah is there to what? Illuminate. That lamp which has illuminated this place through which we can see the things. I don't know if I gave this example before or not, but if I did, forgive me for repeating. The more the nur, the better your understanding of something. For example, this hall that we're sitting in, this masjid hall that we're sitting in, it's big, therefore it requires a lot of lighting. Some of the lights are actually off maybe right now, but requires more lighting so that it can illuminate properly. When it is illuminated, you probably don't need all these lighting in your house, for example, in your bedroom, for example, in your basement, for example. Now you might use half of these lights that are here installed in this hall because of the size of this hall. Why do we have so many lights? So of course, you know, it's illuminated. There's enough light so that we can see things. Because there's enough light, you can see every single small detail of this room. I don't know if you're following. The fact that there's enough light in it, you're able to concentrate on every single small detail that exists in this room. If I was to turn off the lights, you might not be able to see the small intricacies. You might see the big objects. If we turn off the lights, there's some enough light coming from outside, you might be able to see me, for example. You might be able to see the mimbar, or you might be able to see the chairs, but you won't be able to see the small little details that exist in this room. So in order for you to see these small little details, what do you need? More light. So the more the light, the brighter it gets, the more illuminated it is, the lesser darkness there is, the lesser ignorance there would be. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His plan is by sending these anwar, the nur after nur is what? So that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would illuminate this universe with the nur of Ahlul Bayt, so you and I are properly guided. Azan is taking place a little bit early. Sallallahu Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So it says, yuriduna an yutfi'u nur Allah. They want to put out the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is sigha mudari. That means it's a continuous act of the kuffar that they want to do this. So they won't be relentless. They'll continue on doing this. They'll continue on fighting until they have put out all the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I've already explained what the nur of Allah is. They're continuously, they are persistent in this. That's why Allah said, yuriduna. He did not say it was their irada once and no longer it is their irada. No, continuously they're trying. Even today they're trying to put out the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That nur of Ahlul Bayt, which has illuminated the entire universe, they want to put it out. But the example that Allah is giving, He said, yuriduna yutfi'u nur Allah. Their efforts in front of the nur of Allah, and the nur of Allah could be given as the example of the sun that you see outside. The sun outside, imagine if someone said, let me put out the sun by throwing some water onto it. What will you do? You'll laugh at that person. He said, well, launch, a space shuttle will go and will put out the sun. You'll laugh. You can't even get closer to it. You'll burn away millions of miles away from it. Someone today claims that we want to put out the sun and the light of the sun. We'll laugh it out. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave this example for that particular reason. They want to put out the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is like someone saying that I want to put out the sunlight today. Can they do it? It's impossible to even think about it. But they will be persistent. And the fact that Allah is using bi afwahihim, the word afwah means from their tongues, by blowing onto it. Today, how do they want to counter the nur of Allah? The talimat of Ahlul Bayt, which are manipulated and they're being messed around with. You see all this propaganda that is created by the tongue of the adversaries. They're using their tongue to go on different platforms to go ahead and deviate the teachings of Ahlul Bayt. So the agenda is still working. Look at this ayat of Surah Tawbah chapter 9 verse number 32. Yuriduna an yutfi'u nur Allah. They want to go out and put out the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. with their mouths, but Allah is intent on perfecting His nur. The more they try, and yutimma nurahu. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, let them keep on trying. The more they try, the more I will perfect my nur, and the more they will be countered with. So don't back down. This is the help that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised. وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْكَافِرُونَ. Although the faithless should be averse, and they will be feeling that there's this karahat that exists in doing so. So what did Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So Imam, his 25 years of fruitful life begins in the year 195 with his Wiladat, when, as I mentioned, our 8th Imam is already in his 40s. And Imam faces two cruel, tyrant rulers of the Abbasids, one in the form of Mamun from 194 till 218, and then after Mamun, his brother Mu'tasim from 218 till 228. But of course, 2 years while Imam was still alive, and he poisoned Imam. And it was this seed that was planted by Mamun, of course, by giving his daughter in marriage to Imam al-Salam. And that was a very political move by him. Unfortunately, people still think today that the fact that Mamun gave one of his daughters to marriage to Imam al-Rada and the other one to Imam al-Jawad is because he was a lover of Ahlul Bayt. He was fond of Ahlul Bayt. He was showing respect to Ahlul Bayt. And that was the reason he wanted to go ahead and establish this rishtedari, this relationship with them. That was not the case. The fact that Imams were given these daughters into marriage so that Imams could be kept in clear surveillance, and Imam would be closer to Mamun so they can keep an eye on him. And then eventually the Shahadat, which I will come to towards the end, takes place when Imam was poisoned by his own wife. This is also worth noticing that while people try to establish a relationship with Ma'sumin, so that tomorrow they have the nasab which is associated with Ismat and Taharat. Now we were related to Imam. We were related to Ma'asum. We are from the silsila of Sadat, for example. At least our children now, or our family will be from the nasab of Rasulullah. They tried a great deal, but it was not a fruitful marriage, because just like 8th Imam, he got married to the daughter of Mamun. Allah did not give any children through her. Similarly, 9th Imam, he got married to the daughter of Mamun Fadl. Imam was not given any children through that. Similar was the case in the time of Rasulullah, that many tried to associate themselves by giving their daughters in marriage to Rasulullah so that they would have association with him. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not grant any children to Rasulullah for the same exact reason. And if the children were given only through Bibi Khadija salamullahi alayha, salawat Muhammad wa So your plan might be to associate yourself, but Allah understands that these marriages are merely a plot to keep Imams closer by. There are many incidents in the life of Imam that you have heard a great deal. The famous incident of Imam was called, and then Mamun tests Imam with the imamat of his. If he believed in him, why would he go ahead and put Imam to a test, thinking that an 8-year-old who became an Imam, when people questioned Imam al-Rada, that at that time when he first introduced his child, it was only 3, that how can we follow a 3-year-old? Right away, Imam recited the ayat of Quran. He said, have you not read the ayat where Isa, the Maryam says, Inni Abdullah wa atani al-kitab wa ja'alani nabiyyan, that I am the servant of Allah, Allah has given me shariat, and He's made me Nabi. Have you not recited the ayat where Allah speaks about the Yahya by saying, Ya Yahya khudil kitaba bi quwwatin wa ataynahu al-hukma sabiyya. Oh Yahya, hold on to the Shariat, and we have given you the hukm while he was still a child. Well, you have these examples of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala associating nubuwwat with these children, while one is in the cradle in the arms of his mother and the other one is merely an infant, a child. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can do this with selecting his Nabi, regardless of how old or young they were, the same could be said about the Ma'asumeen, that if Muhammad Taqi al-Jawad is only 8 years old, you should not doubt for a second, because his knowledge is ilm ladun, the similar knowledge which has come from the Ma'asumeen through Rasulullah, through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So therefore they started testing Imam. They said, let's put him to a test. And regardless of how old Imam was, but he was not more than 25 years old. Yahya ibn Yaqtham is produced to go ahead and sit with Imam and to debate. And that famous incident regarding the Hajj Ahkam, to ask Imam that difficult question that Imam won't be able to answer, and he will look bad. The purpose was to ask Imam this difficult question, first thinking that Imam won't be able to answer. That itself is a mistake, doubting the rightful place of Imam. So you think Ma'mun was fond of Imams, he was close to Ahlul Bayt, the fact that he was Mu'tazili and Mu'tazila are close to the Shia theology, you think that Ma'mun was close? This is your mere mistake, because if that was the case, he would not go ahead and try to insult Imam by having these sort of debates. Imam responds to Yahya ibn Yaqtham, who thought in his mind that he had asked the most difficult of the questions. Imam responded by saying, your question is incomplete. There are 22 different situations through which this question could be asked. The entire community that is sitting there is remained dumbfounded, looking at the face of Imam, that this child is posing questions back to Qadi al-Qudat, Yahya ibn Yaqtham, and then Imam answers one after another. That increases to the amazement of all those people who were there. That was one of the biggest defeats that Imam had handed out to Qadi al-Qudat. Later on, there were similar incidents when they were asking a question as to what is the punishment of a thief. Someone said the punishment of the thief is that their arms should be chopped off, because they knew cutting off the hands, but they didn't know where to cut off the hands from. Some said cut off the hands from the wrist, some said cut off the hands from the elbow, some said cut off the hand right from the shoulder. And various different reasons were given. They recited the ayat of wudu that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَاغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ وَأَيْدِيَكُمْ إِلَى الْمَرَافِقِ, because the elbow is mentioned, so therefore cut it off. No real reason. This is not how fiqh works. Fiqh requires in-depth analysis. You look into the naql, all that you have received from Ma'asum, and if you don't find it, then you go to usul amaliyah to go ahead and deduce the rules and the laws. Based on these, you go ahead and come out with the fiqh rules. But they were doing what is called qiyas all along. Imam steps in and he says, no, the thief's punishment is to cut off the hands, but the hand means only cutting off the fingers. You have no right to cut off the palm. Why? What is the purpose? Imam says, have you not read the ayat of Quran? It says, خُذُوا زِينَتُكُمْ عِنْدَ كُلِّ مَسْجِدٍ فَلَا تَتَقُوا اللَّهَ. Don't ask from Allah, don't ask from anything. Or don't, do the, as far as the salat is concerned, that 7 parts must be placed on the ground in order for namaz and sajda to be done. If you chop off the hand from the elbow, from the shoulder, how is this person supposed to go ahead and pray? So right away, Imam gave this answer. When he recited these ayat from Quran, the Qadi of the time was made to be looked as a fool amongst the people. He held this grudge. He goes up to the Khalifa and he says to him that you appreciate, this was Manu, is you appreciated Imam Muhammad al-Taqi. Your appreciation elevates his status, makes him look good, and it jeopardizes your own rule. Therefore, you need to do something. And eventually, that's what they had done. They plotted, they planned to go ahead and take the life of Imam. Imam ﷺ was married to the daughter of Ma'mun, al-Fadl, who went ahead and gave this poison to Imam. Before I get to this regarding the Shahadat of Imam, as I have a few moments to spare over here, there's one thing which is associated especially with our Ninth Imam. You might have heard of Hirz al-Jawad, right? Hirz al-Jawad is used for protection. Those of you who have traveled to Maqamat Muqaddasa, you may have bought these necklaces or these rings, which are called Hirz al-Jawad. Hirz al-Jawad, Jawad refers to Ninth Imam, associated with our Ninth Imam. What's written in it? There are two narrations that we find. One is a smaller dua, one is a larger dua. The smaller dua that is written in the Hirz al-Jawad that you're wearing, some of you might be wearing, is the following. Ya Nuro, Ya Burhano, Ya Mubino, Ya Muniro, Ya Rabbi, Fini al-Shurur, wa Afat al-Duhur, wa As'aluka al-Najat, Yawma yunfahu fis-sur. This is what's written in it. Imam taught this to his companions, said, write this down, and there's some ihtiyatat, precautions that have to be taken. You need to do certain things before you can go ahead and perform this. There's a salat that is also recommended, 4 rakat salat, and there's units of 2 each to be offered. Do the wudu, offer the salat, and then write down this hirz, and then keep it close to you. And then Imam mentions the things that you will be protected by. What does it say? It says, Ya Nuro, oh, the one that is Nur. Ya Burhan, the one who's the proof. Ya Mubin, the one who's obvious, the one who makes things obvious. Ya Munir, the one who's illuminating others as well. Ya Rabbi, ikfini ash-shurur, oh my Lord, protect me from the evils, wa afat al-duhur, and the calamities of this world. As'aluka an-najat, I ask for the salvation. Yawma yunfakhu fis-sur, the day the trumpet will be blown and the day Qiyamah will take place. This is the writings that you find in this Hirz. Imam ﷺ taught this. He said, you practice this, you do this, you write this down in the way that I have mentioned. I have run out of my time. I will mention you how Imam intends us to write this down. But if you keep it with you, if someone has already done this hard work for you and you have this Hirz, it will protect you from many of the baliyat of this world. So if you have this sort of fear, make sure that you grab hold of, get your hands onto Hirz al-Jawad, that it protects from many of the calamities which are mawjood in this world. And even to the extent that people give bad eye, evil eye, it is a protection from that evil eye as well. But Imam ﷺ, he knows that this is the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If he has to bid farewell at the age of 25, so be it. Imam ﷺ was poisoned by his wife the same way Ju'la had poisoned Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba ﷺ. And we've seen the asar of the poisoning, that whenever an imam was poisoned with something, how they start throwing up, not only just they throw up, but they throw up blood as well. When Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba was poisoned, he said to Imam Hussein, don't bring Zainab in here. I don't want my sister seeing me in this sort of state. I would say, Mawla, you're so worried that your sister does not see you spilling blood out of your mouth. Come to Karbala, how she will be able to bear the killing of Sayyid al-Shahadat. Ajrakum Allah, may Allah give you no grief. Imam was brought to Baghdad and then he was poisoned. Imam Shahadat takes place. He was buried next to his Jad Imam Musa al-Kazim. All of his last rituals were taken care of. He left this world at a tender age of 25. But I'd say, Mawla, you are the youngest Imam to have left this world, not the youngest Masoom, because there's a Masooma who left this world at a younger age. Janab Fatima Zahra, when she was martyred, she was only 18 years old. Imam leaves this world and he bids farewell. But here stands his son who took care of his rituals. I would say, Mawla, although you lived for 25 years, but come to Karbala, Imam Zainul Abidin, and the tragedy of Sayyid al-Shuhada, that not only that he was martyred, the bodies were laid down. Zainab thought that they were going to bury the bodies of their Shuhada, but to her surprise, they ran the horses on the bodies, trampling them and destroying them. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين. سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. ماذا يا حسين؟ يا حسين يا حسين
Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein.
دل سے رلا رہا ہے یہ زخم سیدہ کو پھر سے رلا رہا ہے بابا نقی کا دنیا سے جا رہا ہے بابا نقی کا دنیا سے جا رہا ہے قلب و جگر زہر سے ٹکڑے ہوئے تقی کے ارے روتے ہیں ملک غم میں اللہ کے ولی کے زہرا کے گھرانے پہ ویرانہ چھا رہا ہے بابا نقی کا دنیا سے جا رہا ہے بابا نقی کا دنیا سے جا رہا ہے سعادت پہ چھائی ہے ہر گام پہ اداسی قدمے اٹھا رہی ہے احمد کی وہ نواسی چہرہ بدل بدل کے ظالم رلا رہا ہے بابا نقی کا دنیا سے جا رہا ہے آئی ہے جنازے پر رونے کو سیدہ بھی عباس حسن قاسم اور شاہ کربلا بھی آیا ہے وہ بھی دل کا جو خون بہا رہا ہے بابا نقی کا دنیا سے جا رہا ہے اے میرے تقی مولا سوچے تو وہ بھی منبر ہیروں کے مسلح پر تھی جب کے لاش سرور اور آپ کے لاشے کو بیٹا اٹھا رہا ہے بابا نقی کا دنیا سے جا رہا ہے مخلص بیاں کروں کیا میں حال تقی مولا حضرت حسن جیسا چہرہ نقی مولا پھر کب قبا مجھ کو ہے یاد آ رہا ہے بابا نقی کا دنیا سے جا رہا ہے
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. پڑھو گے سر
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد